Addiction does not begin the way people think it does. It doesn't start with weakness. It doesn't begin with lack of discipline. And it certainly doesn't start because you are broken. Addiction begins with something far more human. A moment of relief. A moment where something, a substance, a habit, a screen, a feeling, makes the pain quiet for just a little while. For a brief moment, the noise disappears. The anxiety softens. The emptiness fades. And your mind remembers that moment, not as danger, but as comfort. That is where the chain is forged. But here is the truth most people never learn. Addiction is not simply about stopping a behavior. It is about understanding the invisible loop inside your mind that keeps pulling you back. And once you see that loop clearly, you can break it. In a world filled with distractions, instant gratification, and endless stimulation, addiction has become one of the most silent battles of modern life. Millions of people struggle with habits they wish they could stop. Some are obvious. Substances, alcohol, nicotine. Others are quieter, but just as powerful. Endless scrolling, pornography, gaming, overeating, constant escape into entertainment. At first, these habits feel harmless. They offer comfort. They offer relief. They offer a quick escape from stress, boredom, loneliness, or pain. But over time, something subtle happens. What once felt like a choice slowly becomes a compulsion. The brain begins to expect it, to crave it, to depend on it. And suddenly, what once gave relief now begins to control your life. But there is a deeper way to understand addiction. A perspective inspired by the Kishi Kaisel philosophy. This mindset does not focus on punishment, shame, or brute force discipline. Instead, it focuses on something far more powerful. Self-awareness, identity transformation, and conscious control. Because addiction is not simply a bad habit. It is a system, a psychological loop, a learned pattern inside the mind. And once you understand that system, you gain the power to break it. Today, we will explore how addiction forms, why it keeps pulling you back, and most importantly, how to break free from it. Not through guilt, not through force, but through awareness and transformation. Chapter 1. Addiction is not the enemy. It is a signal. Most people treat addiction like a monster that must be destroyed. They fight it with anger. They fight it with shame. They fight it with force. And for a while, they might win. But eventually, the habit returns. Stronger. Why? Because addiction is rarely the real problem. It is a signal that something deeper inside your life is unresolved. Loneliness, stress, fear, lack of purpose, emotional pain, boredom, escape. Addiction becomes the shortcut solution your brain discovers. Your mind learns. When I feel this pain, this behavior makes it go away. So the brain records the pattern. Pain action relief. And every time you repeat it, the pathway becomes stronger. This is why willpower alone almost always fails. Because the brain is not chasing the habit. It is chasing the relief. The Kishi Kaisel philosophy teaches something critical here. Never fight the symptom before understanding the source. If you remove the addiction but leave the pain untouched, the mind will simply replace it with another addiction. Different form. Same loop. True freedom begins when you ask one powerful question. What pain am I trying to escape? Chapter 2. The brain loves patterns. Your brain is not interested in morality. It does not care if something is good or bad. Your brain cares about efficiency. Whatever behavior produces the fastest emotional reward becomes the preferred path. This is why addiction forms so quickly. Drugs, alcohol, pornography, social media, gambling, even food. All of them share the same secret weapon. Instant reward. The brain releases dopamine, the chemical of anticipation and pleasure. But here's the deeper truth most people misunderstand. Dopamine is not released when you enjoy something. It is released when your brain expects something. Which means after enough repetition, your brain starts craving the habit before it even happens. That urge you feel? That restless pull? That voice saying, just one more time? That is not weakness. That is a trained neurological prediction. The Kishi Kaisel mindset teaches that breaking addiction begins with disrupting this pattern. Not by suppressing the urge, but by interrupting the loop. Because habits survive on automation. When you pause long enough to observe the urge instead of obeying it, you break the automatic chain. The moment you notice the craving and say, I see you, the mind begins to wake up. And awareness is the first fracture in addiction's armor. Chapter 3. Urges are temporary storms. One of the biggest lies addiction tells you is this. This feeling will not go away unless you satisfy it. But urges behave more like storms. They rise. They intensify. And if you do nothing, they fade. Research shows that most cravings last between 5 to 20 minutes. Yet people relapse within seconds because they panic when the urge appears. They believe the discomfort is permanent. But the Kishi Kaisel philosophy teaches a different approach. Do not fight the urge. Observe it. Sit with it. Notice the sensations, the tension, the restlessness, the thoughts. Watch how it rises. And then watch how it slowly dissolves. When you do this repeatedly, something powerful happens. Your brain learns a new pattern. Urge awareness, no action, calm. Over time, the intensity of the cravings weakens. Because the brain realizes the habit is no longer guaranteed. And when a behavior stops producing reward, the brain begins to abandon it. Chapter 4. Identity is the real battlefield. Most people try to quit addiction by changing their behavior. But behavior is only the surface. The deeper layer is identity. If someone secretly believes, I am an addict, their mind will constantly look for evidence to confirm it. But if someone begins to believe, I am someone who is learning control, their choices start shifting. The Kishi Kaisel philosophy emphasizes this principle. Your actions follow your identity. Think about it. A person who sees themselves as an athlete naturally avoids harmful habits. A person who sees themselves as disciplined automatically protects their time and energy. But someone who sees themselves as powerless will always return to the same loop. Breaking addiction therefore requires a transformation in self-perception. Instead of saying, I'm trying to quit, say, I'm becoming someone who doesn't need this. That subtle shift changes everything. Because the mind starts aligning with the identity you choose. Chapter 5. Replace the habit. Don't just remove it. Nature hates emptiness. And so does the brain. If you remove an addictive behavior without replacing it, your mind will search desperately for something else to fill the void. This is why people who quit one addiction often develop another. The Kishi Kaisel philosophy teaches that recovery is not subtraction. It is replacement. You must give your brain new sources of reward. Exercise, learning, creative work, building something meaningful, deep conversations, physical movement, purpose-driven goals. These activities produce slower rewards than addictive habits. But they create something addiction never can. Long-term fulfillment. And once the brain begins associating pleasure with healthier behaviors, the old addiction gradually loses its grip. Chapter 6. Environment shapes behavior. People often underestimate the power of their surroundings. But environment is one of the strongest forces controlling behavior. If temptation is constantly within reach, willpower becomes exhausted. Imagine trying to quit sugar while your house is full of candy. Or trying to quit social media while your phone constantly sends notifications. The Kishi Kaisel mindset emphasizes environmental design. Do not rely on discipline alone. Instead, redesign your surroundings to support your future self. Remove triggers. Block harmful apps. Avoid environments that reinforce the habit. Surround yourself with people who reflect the person you want to become. Because behavior is contagious. And the easiest way to change your life is to change the space you live in. Chapter 7. Forgiveness is part of freedom. Many people trying to break addiction carry something heavy. Shame. They remember every failure, every relapse, every broken promise, and they begin to believe they are incapable of change. But the Kishi Kaisel philosophy rejects this destructive mindset. Relapse does not mean failure. It means the system needs adjustment. Growth is rarely a straight line. Even the strongest minds stumble. What matters is not perfection. It is persistence. Every time you fall and rise again, your awareness grows stronger. Your understanding deepens. And your control improves. The person who eventually breaks addiction is not the one who never fails. It is the one who refuses to stop learning. Addiction convinces you that you are trapped, that you are weak. That change is impossible. But the truth is far more empowering. Addiction is not an unbreakable prison. It is a pattern in your brain, a pattern in your environment, a pattern in your identity. And patterns can be rewritten through awareness, through patience, through deliberate change. The moment you stop running from your mind and begin observing it, you take the first step toward freedom. Because control does not come from force. It comes from understanding. And once you truly understand the system controlling you, you are no longer its prisoner. You become its master. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect. What patterns in your life are controlling you without your awareness? And more importantly, what identity are you ready to step into? Because the journey to freedom begins with one simple realization. You are not your habits. You are the one who chooses them. And once you see that clearly, everything changes. This is the Cipher Phantom. And remember, the greatest prison in life is the one built inside the mind. But the key has always been in your hands.